Hello everybody, Shabbat Shalom for the Shabbat, which is called Sh'lach. It's in the book of Numbers and it's about the spies. So the Israelites are in the desert and they get told by Moses to find a person from each tribe. There are 12 tribes, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes of Jacob. They each have to find somebody who becomes their representative, and those 12 people go to spy out the land of Israel, the promised land of milk and honey. The honey is date honey, date palm honey. So off they go, and they come back sometime later, and 10 spies say that the land is inhabited with giants and warriors and terrible people. And 2 spies, Caleb and Joshua, say, the land is flowing with milk and honey, and we will easily overcome the people of the land. And all the people, all the tribes, Moses, Aaron, they all listen to Caleb and Joshua and the other 10, and they decide that the 10 are right and the 2 are wrong. And then Moses says, sorry, you're wrong, because the 2 are right. And because you've chosen and you haven't listened carefully, because you've listened to the 10, but you haven't listened carefully to the 2. And maybe you can bring that into something that's happening in the world at the moment with energy, with pandemics, with problems, with electricity increasing, with water increasing, with transport prices increasing, with shortages of electricity, water, food, people, transport shortages, movement of goods and capital shortages, high inflation. And what is this from? It's from listening to the 10 and maybe not listening to the 2. Maybe not listening to somebody sitting in his science center for 25 years saying there's an alternative. So what does Moses do? He says we have to journey for 40 years in the desert, round and round in circles, because the generation that left Egypt needs to die out, and their children need to, with their new thinking and their new way of being, and without the memory, not the direct. Obviously, we're always going to be remembering Egypt because every year we have Passover and we get told by God we must remember our past, but we mustn't dwell on it. So we have a week to remember the past, to remember the journey from Egypt to Israel, to remember the journey from the darkness to the light, to remember the journey from depression and slavery to redemption from slavery, and then to revelation at Mount Sinai. We received God's word, the Torah. So the generation has to die out and the new generation has to take over. And then Moses appoints Caleb and Joshua as the leaders of the army, and they then train the new generation so that when they go and they need to invade and take over Israel 40 years later, they have a ready army. And 40 years later, we know that Moses camps on the east bank of the Jordan, and on the west bank, which is Israel and Judea and Samaria, and so on, Moses says, I'm going to die here because I struck the rock. And God said, I'll let you live, but because you struck the rock, you won't be entering the land of Israel. And we can discuss that. I've got a lot of theory and background for that in Kabbalah. And then Caleb and Joshua, who were the 2 spies who said everything's going to be hunky-dory, they lead the children of Israel and the warriors into the promised land. And there's so many messages in this parasha. There's so many messages about the spy story. And the most important message is to listen to the signals, to listen to the stories, to listen to everybody who's coming along and giving you ideas and suggestions, and not to poo-poo people because you disagree with them, but to listen to them and listen them out, and to have a deep and honorable discussion with them, and not to steal from them, not to steal their ideas, not to steal their time, not to steal their property, but to work together for the betterment of mankind, to get to the land of milk and honey, the promised land, the enlightenment that awaits us just around the corner. So thank you. Shabbat Shalom. I appreciate all your support and kindness. My channel grew by 16% in the past month, and I'm hoping that it will continue faster or slower. At this rate will be good. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday for the next installment of Torah and Ancient Wisdom. And on Sunday to Thursday, I'm doing the other series, which is about crises and how to fix the planet and how to change our axiom. So feel free to watch that too. But if anyone wants to watch the Friday ones, that's also fine with me. And as always, please like and subscribe and share and comment. And feel free to write positive or negative. I'm happy either way, and to interact and to enjoy our lives together on this beautiful, incredible, amazing paradise called Earth. Good night.